Hi, I'm author R.F. Cooper. Today I'm going to talk about my book thoughts on the Harry Potter series, because at 25, I finally read the books for the first time in their entirety. Before we get started, I wanted to talk about why it took so long for me to read them. In general, I am usually late to the party on everything, whether it's music, television, books, even technology. In this case, Harry Potter's a little different because I actually owned the books when I was younger, and I did start reading them, but after being bullied by a few people for enjoying the first book and first movie, I quickly disassociated myself from the series altogether. I went through most of life thinking it was okay, but no, Harry Potter is everywhere. It's the best selling book franchise of all time. Fucking Mike Evans, one of the best NFL wide receivers, is wearing a Deathly Hallows t shirt at training camp.
He also has it inked on his arm.
And Stephen King personally recommended the franchise in his book on creative writing. Anyways, fast forward many years later, I am with my film team at a film festival supporting our short, and we just so happened to be in Orlando. All of the people in our group had read the Harry Potter series, and they absolutely loved it. I was the odd one out. They were talking about it a bunch, and even on the last day, they were planning on going to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. But I didn't spend money on a ticket because I informed them all that I have never read the books or seen all the movies. It was a strange moment feeling so left out in this situation, but I figured it was time to read the books so I could finally be in the loop on why the series has so much acclaim. I started reading the books in February and finished them in July, and I really enjoyed the experience. In fact, I enjoyed reading the books so much that it reawakened my own love for writing. Writing is something I've always done ever since I was in third grade. It seemed like I was constantly coming up with stories, writing them on paper, or typing them on a Word doc. I took a hiatus, though, after I wrote two books while I was in college. I never released them because I think they're piles of hot garbage. I never really felt like the material I was writing was true to what I wanted to be creating. After reading Harry Potter, I felt like it helped inspire me to find my voice and tell the story that I want to share. Now that I have that out the way, we can get in the meat and potatoes of my thoughts on Harry Potter. I want to rank them from my least favorite to my favorite, with reasons why. Please don't think I disliked any of the books. I enjoyed them all, and I think they are great reads. Anyways, here's the bottom of the list. Book 1, Sorcerer's Stone. So my thoughts on Sorcerer's Stone is that it is a solid novel, great introduction to the world, the characters, and everything else. My biggest gripe is that so much of the beginning is Harry with the bunch of assholes known as the Dursley family for so long. I understand why the book needs that introduction and why we need to see what his life is like, but it's just not my favorite chunk of 50 pages. The Dursley family was my least favorite part, and my favorite part was finding out that Snape was the one helping protect Harry when the whole time everyone just thought he was being a dick. At number 6, we have Book 5, Order of the Phoenix. I just find this book so depressing, and so much awfulness happens, and I can't really stand Professor Umbridge. I do think that this book is necessary to make the rest of the series so great, but it wasn't my favorite as I was reading it. I was really excited because it was the largest one in the series, but so much of it felt like an angsty Harry, which again, I get, he's a teenager, and that kind of happens as a teen. It's just not the most interesting or fun read from the series. My favorite moment was when that asshole Sirius died. Just kidding, that was actually my least favorite part. I honestly teared up a little. But my favorite part was... Geez, kind of hard to think of what my favorite part was in Book 5. But I liked how it took a deeper dive into the past. When Harry looked in on Snape's mind cauldron. The fuck was that called? Oh yeah, the Pensieve. That part was really cool. At number 5, we have Book 2, Chamber of Secrets. I know some people who will put this book at the bottom of the rankings, but I think it's a pretty special book. I think that the mystery that occurs in it is very fascinating, and we start to have more of an in-depth look at Tom Riddle's past. That's a history I always crave to learn more about. My least favorite moment was when Ron and Harry took the Ford Anglia to Hogwarts. I was bummed they got in so much trouble over it. My favorite moment of the book was when we find out that Harry is a Parseltongue. I thought that realization and how it tied in with Book 1 was really neat. Very special moment. At number 4, I have Book 7, Deathly Hallows. I think that the last book is rock solid. I actually really enjoyed the ending of the book, and the mystery that unfolded about the Deathly Hallows was extremely engaging. A lot of the book also felt like Harry was just trying to find the Horcruxes, but the moments like the Patronus that guided him to the sword, or the showdown with Voldemort, all of it was so mind-blowing how it all tied together and wrapped up at the end. My least favorite part was Hermione and Ron arguing a good chunk of the book. My favorite part was when Snape gave Harry the memory at the end. Tears were definitely shed when we look back at that memory. At number 3, we have Book 3, Prisoner of Azkaban. This book felt like a lot of fun, and by the time I reached it, I felt like it had done such a good job building out the first two that it immediately became my favorite. I appreciate how little of the Dursleys we saw in the beginning, and it feels like the book gets started immediately. I loved how we were introduced to Remus Lupin, whose name may as well be Wolfie McWolfface. That joke was stolen from a meme, and I thought the Dementors were intriguing to learn about, and having them introduce the story was pretty neat. My least favorite part was Draco being a douche about getting hurt by Buckbeak. My favorite moment was when Harry cast the Patronus all by himself in that moment of danger. That part gave me goosebumps. At number 2, we have Book 4, Goblet of Fire. It's funny, as I was reading this book, it was the one I knew least about. I had heard information about all the other books, so I usually knew at least one thing that happened in each book going into one. But Book 4, somehow, I managed to completely dodge all information on it, so I wasn't really looking forward to it that much. Much to my surprise, it rocketed up to being one of my top favorites. The Triwizard Tournament was just too much fun, the story felt a little lighter and not as dark, and I loved Mad Eye Moody. He was a barrel of fun. Up until the end. It was a good ride though, very fun book. Least favorite moment, when Cedric died. That part also made me tear up because I took the quiz and found out I was Hufflepuff early on, so naturally, I was a huge fan of his character. My favorite moment was Harry standing up to Voldemort with all the other Death Eaters nearby. That part was really cool. And at number 1, I have Book 6, Half-Blood Prince. This book was my favorite because it was the last time everyone was going to be at Hogwarts and everyone was older, more mature. Even though the ending is pretty dark, it feels like there are a lot more fun and happy moments when compared to Book 5 or 7. Also, learning more about Voldemort's history is always a treat. Visiting those old memories kept my eyeballs glued to the pages. My least favorite part had to be when Dumbledore died. My favorite part was visiting the memories. Anytime we learned more about Voldemort, I was always hooked. Also, Ginny getting with Harry was pretty exciting, so that's an honorable mention. Here are some side notes from the series. Did Fred and George know from the Marauders map that Ron was sleeping with a Ratman? Did they ever question or think anything of it, like who is Peter Pettigrew and why is he in my brother's bed all the time? Another side note. I wasn't too big on the Quidditch games. Every time I read them, I was like, yeah, just tell me who won. But something usually interesting happened that did keep it engaging. For instance, in Book 3, when the Dementors kind of mucked up the whole Quidditch match, that was pretty interesting and pretty cool. So I liked it when things like that happened. Also, fun fact, I have the same shoe as Harry does from the cover of Book 3. Ha! Tubular. My least favorite character in the series was definitely Ron. He's so annoying. I feel like he's always complaining, and if he's not doing that, he's yelling at Hermione and being super moody. That guy is a bit of a douche. My favorite character in the series has to be Hermione, because to me, she is the one who has the most sense to her and the most mature person between the main three. Also, part of me thinks that she would have made a great Hufflepuff because of how loyal of a friend she is, and she seems to exhibit all the other traits. But I guess in the end, should we really be organizing kids like that? Whatever. Hermione's the GOAT, so is Fred and George. That's it. The end.